So what's one belief about big tech that you had that your internship at Microsoft completely destroyed?
Probably the fact that they're employees. Then I had a phone call interview where I was asked more about how I deal with certain situations and
Hi, lovely folks. So this is another edition of the This Is Me series, and today we have Darius here with us. Yay! All right, so you get to meet or know a lot more about Darius as the interview goes on. Before we begin, Darius is a software engineer here at Microsoft. So my first question to Darius is, before Microsoft, who was Darius trying to become? And who did he think he wasn't good enough to be it?
I guess I was quite confused, especially since I think I was in second year before I joined Microsoft. So I was still in that phase where I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I was trying to discover what exactly I like. And I don't know, I feel like it was just constant stress in college. And I was like, oh, let's just get this done. That at some point I thought I wasn't good enough to be a software engineer. Well, to become a software engineer. So yeah, that's kind of what it was before Microsoft.
What was a period in your internship that looked like it was a very small, trivial moment, but then looking back, it changed the course of your internship, the trajectory of your internship?
Potentially the project that I worked on. First of all, I didn't get to finish it. And it was also in a phase where nothing was being done in terms of that. It wasn't being used anywhere. So I felt like it was something really small that didn't really matter. But as my internship went on, I realized that this was going to be used in the future, in future work that Microsoft was going to do. And I guess that felt like, initially for me, it felt like it was something really small, insignificant. I felt like I just got a project which wouldn't have an impact. But then especially towards the end of the internship, and as things went on, I realized that it was more important than I initially thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And I also think that when you realize the impact of what you're working on, it motivates you to, put in a lot more effort
Yeah.
and, work hard at it because you know what is at stake here. So that's cool. That's also what I strive to understand when I start working on any project, because you need to understand why you're working on that project.
Yeah.
And when you understand that, that will help you be more aligned with what you're working on and put in the effort that is required for the projects. And I'm sure from the first question I asked you, you mentioned that you weren't sure you were good enough to become a software engineer, right?
Yeah.
So meaning that you came into Microsoft as an intern with some fears and some misconceptions. What are some of the fears that you had, and how did you work through those fears throughout your internship?
I guess my biggest fear was being used to the fact that in college I mostly got everything right, even though I was constantly stressed. In the end, I don't know, if it were an assignment or something, I'd get it done and I'd do it quite well. I feel like one of my biggest fears was doing the same thing in Microsoft, even though that's not exactly the case, because as a software engineer, you should be used to trial and error and learning from your mistakes. And it's completely fine to make mistakes and try again with a different approach up until the point where you get it working.
Yeah, I think that's a good mindset because, I mean, with everything that's going on with the tech field, it's constantly changing, constantly evolving. So there's no way you get to know everything at the same time.
Yeah.
I read a book by one guy, I've forgotten his name, but then he talked about something relating to knowledge and how knowledge doubles every 7 years or so. So it's not about the amount of knowledge that you have, but how quickly you learn.
You can learn it, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you learn very quickly, then you are more likely to become very good at what you do.
Yeah.
So it's a good mindset to have.
And it's also not required of you to know everything before you start working on something. You can learn along the way. It's something completely normal. Nobody knows everything. Everybody has something to learn, even when you become older. You're always going to have learning opportunities. And I guess the most important thing is what you do with those opportunities, whether you take advantage of them to improve yourself and to learn something new.
Yeah. And even with the fears that you had, or like the misconceptions or whatever, anxiety or anything that made you anxious about your application to Microsoft, you still applied, right?
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that you did differently that many candidates never thought to do?
I guess I've always had an issue with the phone call interview, with the interview where you're mostly asked, what would you do in this situation? How would you approach this? When's the time this has happened? I've always been better at technical interviews. I guess one thing that I did to get over that was just prepare with tailored questions, specific questions that I might get, think some, I don't know, ideas that I could bring up. So I guess it was mostly, one of the things that I used to do is look in front of a mirror, and maybe it might seem really funny, but I'd stand in front of a mirror and talk to myself, ask myself the question, and then also give an answer, which helped quite a lot, because later on during my the interview, I felt more prepared. I didn't feel as emotional or something. So I guess that's one of the things that I had to work on, and how I prepared. Besides lead code questions and going over data structures and algorithms and theory of that sort.
Yeah. I think that's fair. A lot of people, try to brush over the behavioral questions because they seem like, those are everyday questions. But our memories can be, quite fudgy at times. So
yeah, especially when it's something that's just as important.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's very important to look at the questions that you are very likely to get right. Some of the things that you might, say to answer those questions, go over them repeatedly, and use the STAR approach as well. I'm sure you know about it. Yeah. So that is a really helpful thing to do, and that's what I do most of the time, and it helps. So was there a point in time that you felt like, I've lost this? Yeah, like I'm never going to get this internship.
I'd say it was a few days before my final presentation. I was working on a full stack project. And most of my time went into implementing the backend side of things. Not a lot of work went into the front end, because I feel like it was a bit of a weird situation. I couldn't test things locally, so I didn't know whether something was working or not. Testing took way longer than in that way. And one thing that I did was I spent more time on the backend side of things instead of actually looking into the front end. And I had a call with my manager, and he was like, "Hey, look, I'm not really happy about this. Like, you've been telling me that you were going to be able to do both sides of the project. Now we need to figure out something." And that's kind of when I thought, that's it. I'm done with this internship. And I feel like I was mostly saying, that I could do both sides because I was trying to be better than I was already.
Like
at the point that I was at. And obviously you want to impress people when you're in an internship, so that they can see you and see that you can do everything. But that's not the case. Again, it's completely fine for you not to know everything. It's completely fine for you not to be able to do everything, especially when it's a project of this
magnitude.
Yes. But I feel like now that I look back on that, that's just one little bump on the road. It's completely fine. It happens to everyone.
And I think people expect that you don't know anything as an intern. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to ask all the stupid questions.
Especially for interns and even maybe even for new joiners, but let's be fair,
for
even
new joiners.
especially for new joiners, but even senior software engineers have issues. Even they don't know everything. Like I said, it's mostly about what you do with these learning opportunities that pop up down the road, whether you're willing to take that opportunity and take advantage of it to learn something, or whether you're just going to leave it out. No, I'm not going to do anything about that.
Yeah. So, what made you realize early on during your internship that being a good intern had very little to do with writing perfect code?
I'd say I kind of realized it even during the interview process, because in Microsoft we want to adopt a growth mindset, learn from the experience of others, admitting the fact that you don't know something without feeling ashamed of it, and leveraging the help of others and their knowledge. I guess one of the important things as an intern was asking questions, not having everything ready and perfect, basically just asking those who know, those who have more experience with something, hey, this is something I don't know. Can you please show me? Could you please help me with that? And also just the way you communicate and work within a team with other software engineers. I guess that's one of the most important things, not writing the code, because a lot of, especially in big companies, you don't write as much code. It's mostly about planning out the project, having all the requirements ticked, making sure that there aren't any things that you overlooked. So a lot of time goes into meetings and discussing with other PMs or software engineers or other people. So I guess the important thing was communication.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair. Like communication is really key, to be honest, because
Yeah,
like you said, in a big company, you work with various teams, various stakeholders, like the PMs,
yeah,
the managers, the EMs, like different teams working on different features. And sometimes you might not know if whatever that you're working on has already been worked on.
yeah,
So you might be doing some redundant work. That's why it's important to communicate. So the more you communicate and how greatly you communicate will help you do less work and achieve like a much better impact.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And at the end of the day, teamwork, communication, thinking on your feet, and being agile. All of these, I would say, outweigh the fact that you have a good tech stack behind you and the fact that you can write code, because these would probably be more important than your ability to write code, because especially nowadays with generative AI, it's way easier. And even I have gotten to work in some areas which I've never worked with. And AI's been really, it's been a really good helping point. I don't know, for instance, working with, let's say, pipelines or something, with pipeline templates. I've never worked with them before. I had no idea of how they work, what exactly I need to do. Um, so it's way easier nowadays.
Yeah.
Obviously, your tech stack is really important, but at the same time, you also have to know how to communicate. You also need to be able to work within a team, because whether you like it or not, as a software engineer, you will, more than 90% of the time, you're going to be working as part of a team.
Yeah.
So that's something really important.
Yeah. That's true. That's fair. You mentioned that asking questions is like very good, right? And you need to know when to ask
Yeah.
questions. So like how did you figure out when you should ask the questions and when you should, suffer a little bit longer and try to figure things out on your own?
Um, the best thing to do is to initially try it yourself. If you have a question, look into it, and if you don't know what to do, then do go to other people and say, "Hey, look, I've been looking into this. I haven't found anything, or I haven't found as much as I would have wanted to. I still have doubts. Could you please help me with this?" That happened a lot, especially in the initial phases of my internship when I was trying to understand and ramp up on React.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't have as much knowledge of React. I only briefly worked with it, so it was a lot of the things like, for instance, working with hooks. It was quite confusing to me, which is why initially I would look and try to find the answer by myself, but then I did go to someone who had more experience than I did. And I feel like this just shows the fact that you're willing to try, you're willing to put in the effort.
Mhm.
Um, Again, you don't need to have the answer to everything by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like when you do that, like when you put in the effort to find the answer yourself and you go back to the other people, your colleagues, and you say that, okay, this is what I did and this is what happened, they are more willing to help you because now they know that you have tried this and
Yeah,
this and that and it didn't work. So maybe they have a more unique approach to solving the problem that
yeah,
you are
that's right.
having. Yeah, so it's a really good thing to do. And what is the fastest mistake that you made as an intern and how did you recover from it?
The fastest mistake?
Yeah.
Um, I actually don't know. Probably not appreciating what exactly I could work on, and basically not being able to estimate what I could work on, how much I could work on that. I feel like it's something normal, especially when you're at the start of your career, um, especially for interns. Um, a lot of the times you don't have an idea of how long a task is going to take you, um, and even my manager said it. It's completely normal.
Yeah.
You're only going to get better at um, giving, I don't know, an
Estimates.
ETA
Yeah.
after you have some experience, after you've seen, I don't know, how things work.
Hmm.
Um, and like it's just something normal that
Yeah.
it's basically a skill that you develop over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true because estimating projects is really hard because there are a lot of things, moving variables that are
Yeah,
unpredictable, and you're working with people. People already is a very unpredictable variable, so
yeah.
it's completely normal. But during your internship, what is something that you did deliberately that felt uncomfortable, but then looking back, you felt like it made you visible, it made you stand out amongst your peers.
Um, I'd probably say make the first step.
Mm,
In especially when it comes to meeting new people, and
yeah, I was going to say that.
yeah,
Like you actually put in effort to go to the different events, meet people, networking. So
yeah, I'd say for me it's a bit more difficult because I'm more introverted and shy. So usually people come to me.
okay.
I don't need to make any efforts to, meet new people or
Mhm,
get to know them. But I feel like over here it was a bit different because it was people with more or less the same mindset.
mhm.
Um, People coming from similar backgrounds, tech wise, I mean. Um, and I didn't want to just, do work, work, work. That's it. I
Yeah.
also wanted to meet new people, especially the interns.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say the difficult, uncomfortable point was making the first step.
Yeah. People don't realize how important networking is, especially during your internship, because even if you intern in a particular team, you might not be returning to the same team,
Yeah,
like in your
it
case.
happens a lot of time.
Yeah, so if you network with different people, then you might end up in a team relating to the person that you network with during your internship or
Yeah,
stuff like that. So it just gives you a broader like a wide range of opportunities of where to land or who to contact outside of your internship when the internship is over. It's a good thing to do. A lot of interns try to be visible, right? But what is something that you did that made you valuable instead?
as an intern, a lot of people might think you've no impact,
Mm-hmm.
you're inexperienced, and people are going, they're just not going to, they're just going to ignore you. That's not the case, especially in tech companies or maybe internships. Usually, they're organizing internships with a reason. They want to see if you can be the next generation to make an impact within that sector, whether it's tech or finance or whatever it may be. I guess the most important thing is you try and just try to be confident as you are.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to have learning opportunities, even after 10, 20 years, and think that, yes, maybe at the moment I don't know as much, but tomorrow I'll know more.
Mm-hmm.
And in a few years' time, maybe I'll see my work being more impactful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In school, one of our lecturers mentioned something like faking it till you make it. So like the part about the confidence, like being confident in whatever that you know at the moment
Yeah,
and actually putting it into practice is really important because I feel like when you are more confident in whatever that you're saying, even as an intern, then people are much more likely to listen to you more and people invite you into other conversations as well. They want to hear from you. And so yeah, fake it till you make it. Was there a moment in your internship that you felt like, oh, they don't see me as an intern anymore?
I don't know.
Mm.
Probably when I realized that my project was actually going to have an impact in future work that Microsoft was going to have. Initially, I thought it wasn't going to be meaningful work, but as time passed, I realized that was actually important.
Mhm.
I felt like I was getting more weight on my shoulders, trying to finish that project and basically to structure it and write it in a way so that whoever was going to pick it up after I was done with it was going to understand it, and they'd need little help to, I don't know, address any questions they might have.
Mhm.
I feel like that's kind of when I realized that I'm being treated like,
Like an employee.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, but again, like it's normal. They're like, especially tech companies, they're trying to see whether you're a good fit for them as,
Mm.
and whether they could actually give you a full-time position once you finish your internship.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you get something to work on, so that they can monitor you, so that you can see, yes, he does this, he does that. That's what we're looking for.
Mhm.
So I guess, like, it's, especially if you get something that is going to, be impactful in the future. In that case, I would say it you would feel more like, yes, I'm an actual
Yeah.
full-time employee over here.
Yeah. I think it's important that companies do that because then it also gives you perspective on whether you to help you determine whether this is what you
Yeah.
want to be doing for the rest of your
And whether
life.
you'd want to stay even with that company.
Yeah, or team, for that matter. Yeah, so it's really important.
And it's not even about that. It's also about the fact that most of the times people find entry level jobs where
Mm-hmm.
they need 1 or 2 years of experience. Why?
Yeah.
Um, so you getting that experience comes from internships, projects that you've worked on previously. And I'd say it's a good thing to what's it called? To have the experience of an internship because as you were saying, you get an idea of how things work in the industry itself,
Yeah.
not just how you've seen it from your lectures and your
YouTube
labs.
videos. Yeah, cool. That's important. And speaking of return offers, right? What do you think were the key indicators from your manager that show that, okay, I'm going to give Darius a return offer?
I guess I was always asking for an update
Mm.
because for me, this internship wasn't just about, learning something new. It was also about improving myself, improving my skills. I was constantly asking for feedback on how I'm doing, what I could do to improve. There's something I could do differently. And I feel like as the project progressed and I was showing that I was willing to learn from, my mistakes and from the experience of others, and I was actually putting an effort into trying to make something of that project, I guess that kind of showed me that yes, I might get a return offer later on. And even my manager was, as I was saying, he was giving me good feedback on how I was doing, how my work was going.
Yeah, feedback is a gift, and it's really important to ask for feedback. So I think it's a good thing that you were doing because if you wait till the very end to figure out if
Yeah, there's no
you're
more time
doing
to actually try to change something.
exactly. So if you get feedback incrementally during your internship, then you make those little changes during your internship.
Yeah,
And at the end, when they see that you grew from, that state to this state, then they can see growth.
yeah.
And growth is, what Microsoft looks out for. So it's good. And was there a point in time when you were like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be putting all my eggs in one basket? So you try to prepare yourself for the worst case scenario where you don't get the offer, right? How did you prepare yourself mentally for that in a situation where you don't get the offer?
Well, I was thinking about the fact that even though I don't get the offer, at least I learned something new, which is going to help me in my future career. And again, I can always try later on.
Mm,
It's not like
that's the end of
they're
your life.
stopping all hiring.
Yeah.
Um, you can always try later. You can also try in other places. I guess the most important thing for me was learning something new.
Mhm.
Um, taking some skills which I wasn't able to take from college, from theory,
Mm,
but from practical work, from working in the industry. And I already felt like my internship was fruitful enough.
yeah. Yeah, cool. And speaking of, taking something out of the internship, right? That was vital to you
Yeah.
or beneficial to you, right? What did Microsoft teach you that you did not learn from school or from your side projects
You mean in terms of tech
in terms
or
of engineering? Like, what did Microsoft teach you about engineering that you did not get from your school or from your side project?
um, probably the fact that there's a long process.
Mm,
There's a lot of meetings that you need to go through, a lot of discussions, and the fact that a lot of the times you need to defend your point of view as to why you want to go with a certain approach
mm-hmm,
over another,
mm-hmm,
and just not feeling bad about it
mm-hmm.
because maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, and it's completely fine if you're wrong, but just the fact that implementing a project is a long process, and you have to go through a lot of things. You have to be ready to tick a lot of boxes on your list, and just all of that process of going through an entire software engineering project.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, Microsoft is a place where there's psychological safety, so you can
Yeah.
voice out anything that you have to say, assuming it doesn't offend anyone. Yeah, but you don't have to worry about, saying something stupid and people using that against
Yeah.
you. So it's a good place to, learn more. So be like a sponge, just,
Yes,
grabbing and absorbing
that's right.
everything. So what's one belief about big tech that you had that your internship at Microsoft completely destroyed?
One belief. I actually don't know. Probably the fact that their employees are perfect,
Mm,
because let's be fair, nobody's perfect.
mhm.
And you don't have to be the smartest person to work for a big tech company.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to try, to do your best, to not be afraid to communicate with others, and basically just learn from others around you. I remember I had a moment when myself, as a junior software engineer, had to help um, a principal software engineer with something that they hadn't worked with. And it's completely fine because they hadn't had experience with that, whereas I have.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's more about sharing experiences,
Yeah.
regardless of the level that you are in. So it's cool. And when you are put in a position where you as a junior software engineer, you are helping a principal, it doesn't mean that you know more than
Yes.
it just means that you know something that he doesn't or
Yeah.
she doesn't. So it's just about, like you mentioned before, communication, leveraging, the skills of others and the knowledge of others, the experience of others for everyone to benefit. So yeah, that's all engineering is about. And I know a lot of interns, or you knew a lot of interns during your time, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that they were obsessing over? Or even the people who applied for internships and didn't get, right? What are some of the things that interns obsess over that you think that they should stop obsessing over, right? And then what do you think they should obsess over instead?
Obsessing about. Do you mean before
Before
getting the job, or
before getting the job and maybe during the internship as well?
obviously everybody wanted to make an impact? I know a lot of the interns didn't get something specific to work on, and they felt like their work wasn't as impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they kind of felt like their work wasn't important, and they weren't going to get a return offer or something later on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about that. It's like I said before, it's mostly about showing that you're willing to make an effort, you're willing to communicate with others and ask questions if you don't know something. Um and yeah, I feel like they should be obsessing more over the fact that they should learn from this, not just tech wise, but also some soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know, trying to meet people from who are already working in the industry,
Yeah.
rather than just, obsessing over the fact that, hey, like,
I'm not doing
I'm not
anything.
doing anything important here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't want me here or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even if you're an intern in such a position, there's an opportunity for you to create something.
Yeah.
Like go out and find your problem within the team that you are in and then solve it. I think that will make you more, valuable to the team and to the organization as a whole. Because you're not only, being passive, like sitting there waiting for something to come, like fall on your lap for you to do, but you're actively going out there to find problems and then solving it yourself.
Yeah.
So, I think that will make you, unforgettable, like definitely. So if you're an intern and you're ever in that position, find out your problems and then solve it. Looking back, right? Well, not looking back anymore, but if intern Darius was listening to this conversation right now, what would you tell him to relax about and what would you tell him to take more seriously?
Um, I'd probably tell him to not try to be perfect in terms of work and in terms of the project, because I was trying to do my best with it, even though a lot of the times I felt lost. It's mostly about the journey and the process of going about that project, and also just trying to focus on improving those soft skills that I was just talking about, getting better at communicating with people, getting better at working as part of a team, and adapting to the unknown.
Yeah. And what kind of engineer are you trying to become right now? Beyond the titles and beyond the companies that you've worked with?
Um, I'd say a creative engineer that is constantly that's constantly looking for opportunities to improve. Um, yeah,
Yeah, cool. A growth, an engineer with a growth mindset.
yes, adopt a growth mindset.
An engineer with a good mindset. Maybe can you share the interview process? How was the Microsoft internship interview process?
Yeah, okay. So I initially applied and I had what's it called? A tech assessment. I got two, what's it called? Two coding problems to work on. It was mostly like a take it home assignment.
The online assessment?
Then I had a phone call interview where I was asked more about how I deal with certain situations and discuss about any previous projects that I worked on, any issues that I've had with them, and so on. And after that, I think we had the final interview where, at least for interns, we had three 45-minute interviews with different software engineers. And it was a mix of behavioral questions and also tech questions. So it wasn't just, you coding, it was also you being asked certain questions like, how would you deal with this situation? And so on. And once that was done, I got a call from one of the people working in HR, and they told me about the
Awesome.
successful interviews.
Yeah, cool. Congrats.
Thank
It's an
you.
intent areas. Cool. And then do you think having a portfolio as a student, a tech student is vital, for getting an internship opportunity?
So what?
The portfolio, side projects that you've worked on outside of school, do you think that is important for getting an internship or even a full-time offer?
I'd say it shows that you're trying and you're doing your best to learn something new. It shows that you're willing to go beyond what you're doing in college to learn something that, well, is going to benefit you later on in your career. Um, yes, I'd say it would help you, especially when it comes to discussing previous project that you worked on.
Yeah.
It's not just for someone from HR to have a look at your GitHub profile to see, oh yeah, he's done these projects or something.
Mhm.
It's mostly the fact that you can talk about how that project went,
Mhm.
the process of that. Did you work with other people?
Mhm.
What issues did you have? Did you have any disagreements with your teammates and so on?
Yeah.
And all of these, at the end of the day, kind of show whether a company should hire you or not.
Yeah. It shows your work ethic.
Yes.
And I think it helps you in answering those behavioral questions as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. Cool. This is the closing question. So it says that if Microsoft disappeared tomorrow, what skills, habits or beliefs would you still bet your entire career on?
The fact that I'm willing to learn and take advantage of learning opportunities that come along the way. The fact that I'm a person who is willing to communicate with others and work together with them to solve an issue or something. And yeah, I'd say these two would be really important.
Yeah, good. I think that has been the recurring theme throughout this conversation, which
Yeah,
is, be willing to learn, be open to, communicate with others and leverage the experiences of other people. And yeah, I think that is something valuable that everyone out there can take and use in their daily lives. So something that I am willing to learn as well. So this is the end of our conversation. It was good. If you enjoyed this conversation, like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
bye.